To start, I think it's very important to note that I try to live my life as gradually as possible. I deeply value stability. I know I'm set in my ways. I was born and raised in Orange County. I only been on a plane once, and that was this past April when I made one of the biggest decisions of my life, and that was to move out with my boyfriend. But the house where we're going to be moving into is in Texas, and where we're going to be moving into is, like, if you know, like, the shape of Texas, it's like going to be the center of the top square. Like, it's going to be north of Dallas. So through family connection, we managed to scrape enough money together to put a down payment on this house. And this past April, I went to go visit the house for the first time. So I got on a plane with my boyfriend for the first time ever, by the way. And we went to Texas, and we landed at DFW Airport, and my sister picked me up. And it was like 10 p.m., and that was the first time I realized how flat Texas was and how dark it was. So she picked me up, and we went back to her place so we can debrief and unpack and just kind of like get settled. And oh, by the way, when we went back to her place, we picked up the key for our place so we can check it the next morning. So the next morning I woke up, and it was the very first morning I ever woke up in Texas, or in a different state for the first time in my life. And we got the key, and I threw on a cotton dress, and I threw on my flip-flops, and my boyfriend, who is from Texas, he put on his cowboy boots, his big old belt buckle, and he looked like a Texan, and I didn't. I looked like a girl from California. So on our way to the place, he decides to stop by Whataburger, which you just mentioned. And that was the first time I ever had a Texas meal. And Whataburger is pretty much like the In-N-Out of Texas in a way, except it's heavier, and I think it's like way better. Like, imagine eating something that's really greasy and makes you feel really heavy. That's Whataburger, for me at least. So on the way back, we were driving, and we were going to go to our place to finally check it out for the first time, because I've been dying to check out the first place that we were going to get. But he pulls over, and I'm like looking at him, and I'm like, what the heck are you doing? Like, why are you pulling over? And he's like, just trust me, just trust me. So he gets out of the car, and I'm like, what the heck? I'm like, I'm not ready for like an adventure. Like, why are you pulling over? And I didn't understand that he knew the lay of the land already, and he had known about this secret trail. So I'm like, okay. So I get out of the car, and I'm wearing, again, like my flip-flops, and I start walking down this trail. But the trail's super muddy, and I step, and mud swallows my foot completely. And I like lift my foot up, and my flip-flop's gone, and I'm like, babe, like, what the heck? I didn't need to do this hike right now. And he's like, babe, it's okay, whatever. So he carries me, and we go down this trail, and we sit for a second, and I heard nothing but like just complete silence. And it was like around 12 p.m., and it was just like we only saw trees. There was no highway, there was no freeway sounds, and it was nothing like what I'm used to here in California. So we go back. He carries me back through this long trail, probably about like a quarter of a mile. I get back in the car, and I'm like, well, we still need to go check out the house. So we go back to the house, and my feet are all muddy. My flip-flops are just like dripping with mud. And we go back to the house, and I remember opening the door for the first time, and it was just empty, completely bare. It was a blank canvas, and it felt really good. And I remember the first thing I did was go to the backyard to wash off my muddy feet. And I thought it was really funny in that moment that I was washing Texas mud off of California flip-flops. And so, just so you guys know, I'm going to be moving there this May, hopefully, crossing fingers, or May 2017, to live in my very first house that I'll ever live in.